Something amazing is happening in Eagle Pass, Texas, on a small 2.5-mile stretch of the border. You know now that Texas has decided to secure a small area, and the federal government is apoplectic about this. The Biden administration is furious that anyone is securing any mile of the border whatsoever. And for more on this, I want to bring in a witness to all of this, our guest, Allie Bradley. She's a Southwest correspondent for NewsNation, and she is reporting today from Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. Allie, great to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Give me, I've been following your social media, and by the way, people should follow you on Twitter to get a sense of this, but what is your sense today of the state of play down there on that 2.5-mile stretch of border?
You know, we saw that DHS cease and desist letter, right, saying, hey, by the end of the day, Wednesday, you better let the feds have full access back into that park, or else we're going to bring this up to the Department of Justice. Well, Texas, instead of going, okay, we'll bend to your rules here, they're doubling down. They're literally putting out new concertina wires. They're putting up anti-climb barrier on top of the concertina, or on top of the Connex boxes down here that have concertina wire all over it. I posted a video of that so you can see what I'm talking about, because people are climbing over the Connex boxes. 10 people this morning breached those Connex boxes before those anti-climb barriers and concertina wire were put on top, and they were actually arrested. So Texas DPS started arresting people for criminal trespass. This is not under that controversial SB 4 law where local law enforcement can arrest people for crossing illegally. That's not what this is. This is something Texas DPS has been doing for quite some time on ranches and other areas where people are trying to evade. So now they're, because they took control of this park, they seized this land from the city, they can criminally arrest these people for criminal trespass who are crossing the river illegally. So that's what we're seeing happening. 10 people this morning were apprehended by Texas DPS. They're not being turned over to Border Patrol. They're going to jail. And then a couple hours ago, there was a male and female that were also arrested. So they're arresting single adult men and women right now. Doesn't matter what country. There's no, nothing, no requirements, if you will, or stipulations here. If you cross illegally into the state of Texas, there's a good chance that you're going to get arrested right now. So Border Patrol, they want to get back into the park, or I should say DHS wants to get back into the park. I will say this, Border Patrol has had access to the boat ramp here at Shelby Park since this closure. So they have been able to put their airboats in the water. They have been able to patrol. They have been able to remove their boats, but they just haven't had that access to that processing area under the bridges, and they haven't been able to receive migrants who are crossing here.
Can you give us some more detail on that? The Border Patrol, have they had access to the boat ramp for the entire duration of this saga?
That's what the Texas Military Department told me this morning, and that's when I talked to Texas DPS. They've said the same thing. So as far as I know, they have had access to this boat ramp.
Interesting. Well, that flies directly.
This letter,
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a point, Allie, about that. That flies directly in the face of what the Biden administration's been claiming. They're claiming that they've been shut off from that park. According to Texas, what they're telling you, no, Border Patrol has had access to that boat ramp.
Yeah, and you can look on my Twitter right now. I posted a video of them putting a boat in the water this morning. So they absolutely have access to the area that they need to patrol the water. And we talked about those 3 migrants drowning, right? And there's this whole finger-pointing situation that happened. They're very reminiscent of Del Rio, kind of putting the cart before the horse before we had all the facts. And blame, DHS and the Biden administration blaming Texas, saying that they physically barred Border Patrol agents from going in there and responding to that, those migrants in distress. But then we learned that Mexican officials confirmed those individuals had drowned an hour before Border Patrol even arrived on scene to respond to said migrants in distress. So a lot of moving parts there. But when it comes to the boats, again, that cease and desist letter, that came out and said that has to happen by Wednesday night, right? End of day Wednesday. But they had access last week. So it's very confusing as to what DHS even really wants down here. It seems to me that it's just kind of a show of force, if you will, like who's tougher right now, because they are able to come down here. And I've seen Border Patrol walking around in the park today. So they're just not receiving migrants and processing them here any longer. Now, they are walking in about 15 miles away in a little area called Normandy. That is still happening. It does seem like Texas is going to try to expand their kind of barriers a little bit further. So we'll see if that happens. That would probably be the next steps for Texas to expand kind of their Connex box barrier or their wall barrier that they're building in other areas. So we'll see what they do. But Texas isn't giving up. They're not letting down. They're not backing down. They're holding their ground. Governor Abbott has regularly said that they are stepping up in the federal government's absence. And we've heard them invoke, you know, the Article 1 of the clauses there under the Constitution under the invasion, where Governor Abbott invoked that invasion a year ago. Well, now Ken Paxton doubled down on it and says we are protecting our border. We're within our rights within the Constitution to do so because the federal government is not here. So they're invoking those articles and they're going full bore when it comes to securing their border. And I'm going to tell you what, I've been covering down in Eagle Pass for 2.5 years, and I've never seen it so fortified, so active. There are troopers, there are soldiers. I mean, it is crawling with Texas military and Texas DPS right now, and concertina wire as far as the eye can see. Like I said, they're doubling down. If anything, they are not pulling back like the administration seems to be wanting them to do.
This is one of the most encouraging accounts I've heard since January of 2021. That's a big deal. What is the mood like among Texas law enforcement and the Texas National Guard? How do they feel about their mission right now?
Well, right now, it seems like they are on board with what they need to be doing. They are appreciative that they are able to deter people from coming in. That's what they've been assigned to do under Operation Lone Star. Now, what's really interesting is when it comes to Border Patrol and local law enforcement down here on the ground, they're frustrated at the administration for causing kind of a rift between them on the ground here because they're like, we don't have any problem here. Border Patrol that I talk to down here actually is supporting what these guys are doing. And so you have the federal government. That's why I kind of had to walk back and say DHS wants to get back into the park because Border Patrol, the ones I have talked to, and I talked to a lot of them are very supportive of what's happening down here because, as you know, a lot of them feel like they are the U.S. Welcome Patrol and they'd rather be out patrolling the border, not receiving migrants. And so when they're down here under the bridge, sitting around receiving hundreds of migrants every day, yet Texas now is coming in and saying, no more, we're blocking this off, we're securing our border. Border Patrol is kind of giving them a little round of applause quietly in the corner.
I saw on your social media today that there are members of the Texas National Guard, Texas law enforcement who are prepared, if necessary, to be arrested by the federal government, should it come to that. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that was pretty wild. So this morning I actually got a call from one of the local sheriffs here, a neighboring county, and he called me and he goes, hey, if you see any marshals down there, let me know. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's talk and there's a chance that they could come in there and arrest DPS and Texas National Guard for blocking the federal government from accessing that property. And I said, no way. And he said, that's absolutely a possibility. And then when I got down here and talked with some soldiers, they said the same thing. They said, if that's what happens, that's what happens, and we're prepared. But that's pretty much what we're being told could happen and could be the next steps that are taken if the government continues to push in that direction. So we'll see. But they're like, hey, we're doing the job. If they want to come arrest us for securing the border and for, following our orders, then that's their prerogative. But they said that they're prepared. And the sheriff said he stands shoulder to shoulder with them and he'll come bail them out.
Is it just my imagination, or is the federal government responding to this, the securing of 2.5 miles of border, with more aggression than they have the entire border crisis?
No, I mean, you're right. I think that that's an accurate statement to make because we haven't seen the federal government really come after Governor Abbott like this in any capacity. We haven't even, when they hardly went after the shipping containers in Arizona, right? So we have not seen them as active as we have right now. The other thing, too, is when it comes to the situation down here at the southern border and the drownings. I brought this up with another conversation I was just having with Director McCraw down here because he just came in on a helicopter here into Shelby Park with a small delegation of some Texas lawmakers. And we were talking about how, Eagle Pass is averaging a drowning a day. And then 3 migrants drown. And everything stops, right? And we're sitting here going, we've had hundreds. and the administration hasn't said one thing about the drownings at Eagle Pass. And all of a sudden, you know, the whole world stops, and it's Texas's fault that these people drown. It's really, really wild to see this all unfolding right now. And Texas, I mean, the energy, it's a weird energy here. It's palpable. I can't describe it. I don't know if it's, I don't want to say, it's just, it's like a war zone down here. You know, it's full militarized. They're ready for anything. They want to secure the border, and they're done messing around from what I've heard from them.
I don't know if other people share my mood, but as far as I am aware, my feeling about this is finally a sense of hope that something can change, because this has been just miserable. This is just with each passing day, we've had more miserable headlines on this subject, whether it's people dying trying to come into the country, Americans dying as a result of the open border, the chaos in all of our cities, the crime, people committing crimes who are illegal immigrants being released by sanctuary cities back into the community. I mean, at some point, you just become so, numb to all of it. You're like, of course, another awful headline. For the first time in a long time, I feel like there's something happening for once. So if I was down there, I'd almost feel a sense of optimism.
Well, I think that unfortunately that might be misplaced a little bit, because here's the thing. They're going to come in if it takes 1 to 4 months for most people to get here, right? And you think these people that are in Mexico or traversing through the Darien Gap are going, up, Texas put up some concertina wire. We're not going anymore. No, they're coming into Texas is securing Texas. They're not securing the nation. So you still have, the Tucson sector is surpassing the Del Rio sector and has been for months, because Arizona's not doing anything. People are taking the path of least resistance right now, and Texas is resisting. So yes, people are still coming in through Texas, but not in the droves that they were. But they're going into San Diego and they're going into Arizona, right?
No, that's true.
That's a national issue. So Texas is doing Texas right now.
Yes, but it's a resurgence of self-reliance and a quest for a better future, I think. And it's just encouraging to see. And I hope more than 2.5 miles can be protected from this out-of-control border crisis. Well, Allie Bradley, I want to thank you, as always, for your excellent reporting. It's always so concise and useful, and we really appreciate it here. I know the country does, too. Thank you, Allie.